What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash, here to finish out our division preview saga. We've talked about the AFC North, the NFC North, the AFC South, the NFC South, the AFC East, the NFC East, the NFC West, and today we're talking about the AFC West. Finishing it out, the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chargers. It's going to be a ton of fun. We've also got a very fun draft for you lined up at the end here. But before we go any further, Matt, Theo, it's a beautiful Wednesday evening. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we timed it perfectly. Wrapped up the divisions and the season's just about to start, like tomorrow. Just no time to spare. Timed it up perfect.
Just about. There's a big spider in my house that I don't have the heart to kill. That's just a daddy long legs, but I looked at it and I got the paper towel and then I looked at it again and I'm like, it can't get me. I have no justification for doing this.
Pull its legs off one by one.
I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to be kind to it. They get other pests. Well, the issue is, I saw that jumping spider the other day that I was really struck by. And now I see this spider, which is completely harmless, and I know so, but it's just kind of creepy. They're, even when you know that they're not going to do anything to you, it's kind of a creepy bug with the long legs and all that.
Yeah.
But I have no justification for getting it. It's not like it's going to infest my home, right? It's not a cockroach. And it's not like it's going to bite me and then kill me or anything. They don't do that. I believe they can't even bite hard enough to really get you, even if they wanted to. And scientists say that they don't even really want to at all. So I'm just living with it here. Kind of out of sight, and I guess.
I've got a vacuum. It's meant for children, but it is a vacuum gun that sucks bugs up into a jar. And when there's a bug in this apartment, I get the bug gun and I suck it up and then I throw it off the balcony from the jar.
Okay. Maybe I'll invest in a bug gun, but it's so big, I feel like I can't even move it properly because it feels very fragile,
Yeah. And bug guns, I wish they made, if any inventors are out there and want to go on Shark Tank with something I would buy, the one I have is for like kids and it's pretty dinky. If you got it with some serious suction to suck bugs up more reliably from a longer range, I would be super interested because they sell like bug guns that shoot salt, right? They've got the bug assault and they like blow the bug up with salt, but then they're pretty big and they're like $40. I want something of that caliber. I guess I've never shot one, so maybe those are dinky too, but I want something serious that's at like Cabela's or something. But instead of killing the bug, it just sucks it up into a jar that I then can remove and peer into.
I've got two things for you, Theo. Number one, I guess the first is what I normally do to bugs when I see them, which is I get my vacuum cleaner, I suck them up in the vacuum cleaner, and then I let the vacuum run until it dies.
Seems overkill.
It is overkill, but I want to be sure that this bug suffocates and dies.
Well, we talked about this last time. You have a line, though, right? You're not doing this to a ladybug.
True, but I've also become aware of the Asian lady beetle, which I will do that to.
Why is that? I don't know much about it.
They're invasive. And so, like, same thing with, like, the spotted lanternfly. Even though they're, like...
Those I know of.
I'm pretty sure they're not like technically harmful that I know of, but because they're invasive, they don't have any natural predators. And so they can spread like more wildly than other. And so like they have
to start eating them.
Right.
Yeah.
they're like the lionfish, but not as dangerous. But when I left for college, my parents got me this grabber. It's like you pull a trigger and it like opens up hands or opens up like fingers and you can close and grab around a bug and they're like soft bristles so it doesn't hurt the bug. and then you can release it outside. I never used it.
I was gonna say.
Because I don't want them to live.
I do if I can help it. I mean, I'm not like ridiculous, but if I can help it, I'm trying to save the bug.
And here's another issue that I've had is I love the concept of like chaos gardening and like having wildflowers in out front and stuff, and because I think it looks beautiful, but God, I cannot keep my cool if there's bees and wasps flying around. Like, I really can't. And so I have to like ultra treat my yard and just kill everything that isn't grass because otherwise I'm just going to freak
no pollinators. We cannot have pollinators.
It's like the bees I've become more okay with because I recognize that they really do not want to bother me, right?
Wasps don't either. Hot take.
No, they do.
Wasps don't want it. I have never ever seen a wasp and have it fly right at me and sting me. That has never happened to me ever. Okay. I don't think it happens to anybody. I go out to mow my lawn and there's nothing else. Everything's cool, calm. As soon as I start mowing, I get 1/3 of the yard done. All of a sudden, there's a wasp just like hovering around my. Get away! Does it sting you?
No, I get away before it. I shut the mower off and I go inside. This is the most territorial animal on the planet, and yet they have no concept of personal space.
I really, really don't know how to attack this segment. On the one hand, you've got Theo saying like, wasps don't try to sting people and go out of their way. That could be true. I don't know. And then on the other hand, I got another claim from Blaiden working here that the most territorial animal on the planet. That doesn't sound true, I have to admit, but I honestly have no idea.
That's like totally. It's not. There's no statistics to back that up. But like, if there is a hive or a nest, like they are very territorial of that.
I agree. Wasp nest and just wasps in general. Like, yeah, something that is so known for being able to really get you with its powerful sting. I can't mess with it either. Now, a bumblebee I can sit and watch and have no issue with. But even just like general bee-looking insects, I'm never sitting around to inspect to figure out what exactly I'm.
Is it a bee or is it a yellow jacket? Right, exactly.
I just see these TikToks that are like how bees act, and it's like a dude in a field acting all normal, and then it's like how wasps act, and he's got like a shiesty on, and he's like jabbing at you and pretending to punch you, and
that sounds very accurate, honestly.
I just don't see that in reality. I just don't think wasps, when I see them, are like, oh, like I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna sting you. I just feel like wasps.
That's exactly what
fly on by at about the same rate that bees do. I just think that they're.
I have never
more serious on the sting factor.
Again, I'll be out mowing my yard and like I'll go inside for a little bit. I'll come back out. I'll go to a different area and there's no wasps over there. I'll start mowing again and they just come over to where I am. Like,
I feel like it's been established that you've never been stung.
I haven't been stung because
they're clearly not that.
I'm taking precautions to not be stung. If I stayed out there and kept mowing while they're flying like in the grass right in front of me, like they move from where they were in front of me and start flying around in that area, like 4 of them. If I didn't stop what I was doing and leave, if I kept mowing, I guarantee that I would get stung.
They're running the ICE agent playbook in front of your lawnmower.
They're trying to take a charge so they can get you, but it also kills them to get you. It's tough.
Not a wasp. No, a wasp can get you as many times as they want. The bees, it does kill them. So the wasps are just in it for the love of the game.
Yeah. I do think wasps may be more evil than bees. I think that might be rooted in some truth. I can't lie. But I guess I don't know, so I don't have anything to contribute.
Theo's an undercover wasp. I feel like
I'm on ProfessorBugman.com, and there's a section called Wasp Myths, and the myths are wasps are all evil and hate us.
Wasp. Why are you on Wasp FC? What does this matter, man?
This doctor is also a wasp, by the way.
They sting for no reason. That's a myth. Wasps will attack you around food. That's a myth. So what causes
so Dr.
a wasp?
Bugman is saying that if a wasp sting you, you have it coming? Okay.
In that case, what causes a wasp to sting? Disturbing, damaging their nest, touching them.
Disturbing, touching. They're touching me. If one flies by and like starts buzzing around my head, I'm the bad guy for like swatting it away.
See, swatting it is just not what I would do to a wasp. That's how you get stung.
But me and Blaiden have not been stung, and you have.
Not by a wasp, I don't think. I get stung because I like am barefoot and I step on a clover field. And there's a bee on the
I would never go barefoot in a clover field.
Yeah, well, you don't touch grass generally. Like you drive to get your groceries. I walk to get my groceries barefoot.
A market just opened across the street, so I might be popping in
with your car.
It looks like I'm not gonna.
You're gonna step out and you're gonna be like, "What? There's a bee out here," and then you're gonna be like, "Fuck that."
It would cost me more in gas than it probably would to the negative utility of getting stung at that point.
There's a lot of monetary advantage to getting stung. It's free to get stung.
You guys want to talk some football?
Yes, I do.
Let's do it.
All righty. We might as well start with the worst, as we have been all off season, and that would be the team that had the number 1 overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders. Do you guys think they'll finish last in this division again?
Yeah, probably. Unless there's a quarterback injury to another team or something like that, like Mahomes or Herbert or Knicks goes down or something drastic happens. They're probably going to. They're also walking into the season kind of understanding that they're probably a year away and that this season is more about figuring out where all the young pieces are and showing promise rather than like making some big run. I mean, you never want to say never about just about any team when it comes to like pushing for a 7 seed or something like that. And there's reason to believe that you could talk yourself into the Raiders maybe being kind of sneaky. But my evaluation of them is they're going to be looking to be kind of scrappy and get better over the course of the year rather than truly competing this season. You have some really exciting guys and big moves to hang your hat on here. Obviously, like you bring in Kubiak, so you want to see him install his vision of getting big and running zone and then building the pass game off that. You want to see the ball get to Bowers a lot. You want to see Genty have a better season. You want to see Linderbaum, who is the highest paid center of all time and got this huge contract. You want to see how he can affect the offense. It might be overall that the offensive line is still not great, better, especially if you consider that they're also kind of adding Colton Miller in a sense.
Right.
But they could still struggle like there and at outside receiver in particular, even if we like some of these guys as sleepers. If you're going into the season with a receiver room of all sleepers, it's really not a good thing. Even considering like Bowers is really pass catcher 1, you still need guys who are going to win on the outside. And the question is, are these guys going to be able to become that? To me, it feels like an offense that has enough pieces for me to get pumped. I really like the top guys. I really like the play caller. And then obviously you got Mendoza on top of that and how the handoff between him and Cousins will work. But they might be more of like let's see him get better over the course of the year. Because we saw that with the Seahawks too, right? Their rushing game in particular got better as the offensive line gelled. I wonder if the Raiders in December are a lot different than the Raiders in September, maybe even more so compared to other teams. And then defensively, they added a lot. They have their corner room, very interesting. They added some linebackers at like a pretty hefty price that maybe weren't like great deals, but I do think makes them more athletic. You get Crosby back. We'll see what he is off of injury. This team is solid. They're not like the worst team in the NFL or anything. I feel okay about them for what they're trying to be this season, though. So yeah, I got them at 4.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I keep having to kind of have these discussions with either coworkers or friends that like, or even at physical therapy, just people talking football. It's like, just because you added a lot of pieces doesn't mean you're actually better, right? Or doesn't mean you're actually significantly better. And that's kind of how I feel about the Raiders defense. It's like, I like Kwity Paye a decent amount and Nakobe Dean, but is this defense actually a massive step above where it has been in past years? I don't necessarily know. And
they weren't that bad by DVOA last year, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were above 16 in the top half. This isn't a terribly untalented defense. Crosby, if he's healthy, has the ability to be a tier 1 pass rusher. The corner room is kind of like shoddy and weird, but I really liked McCoy, and it seems like they're going to be able to work him in. You have Stooks, who was somebody I liked out of the draft. Porter is a really interesting athlete. Like, it's a cool room. There's enough life here for me to get excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the defensive results just kind of going through it shocked me. They were kind of in a, even above average in EPA per play, kind of average in all categories. It's not like there was something that they were like unbelievably good at, but the way it worked out, like, yeah, they ended up being solid. They were 15th, no, 14th. As I go down the line of stats here on Pro Football Reference, from first downs to fumbles lost to yards here. They were 14th in yards allowed on defense, and that's just way better than I was expecting them to be. I mean, this was a core on the interior that consisted of like Jamal Adams and Devin White and players that were like written off as washed and like seemed to be just barely hanging on across the league. But man, they allowed like 10 points to the Titans, 13 points to the Patriots week 1, 12 points to the Chiefs at the end, 10 points to the Broncos during a season. Like, they had some games where they were kind of able to show out. So that makes it interesting. And I really wonder how the Max Crosby stuff is going to go after they traded him away. And then he kind of came back to them against, and that wasn't the plan. Like, is that going to end up being a disaster or a blessing in disguise? Like, what are the ripple effects of that going to be, not only for the Raiders, but for the Baltimore Ravens? That's going to be a storyline to really keep your thumb and eye on over the course of this year. Is like, man, what are the ripple effects of that getting undone? Could the Raiders be in a situation where like the offense actually starts to click a little bit and they're like, thank God we didn't get rid of our best defensive player. He's like got 10 sacks and it's week 8 or something like that. He's got 10 batted balls this season and 2 interceptions. He was so good at that last year. He's back healthy, playing every snap and being a lead run defender. I don't know. Or is it going to be, this is a wasted year. We're terrible. We would have rather had the top 2 picks. Like, this has actually set us back quite a bit in our development. I really wonder how that's going to age. But the important stuff is the offense for me in Las Vegas, right? Like Mendoza, Kubiak. The defense is, you're going to get out of the defense, I guess, what you get. But all eyes are on, just how efficient all these highly drafted rookies can be and what Kubiak can be. And I feel like it's going to be a slow roll forward for them. I think about last year, the Seahawks, how heavy teams played them. I mean, they dealt with more loaded boxes than just about anybody else last year. Teams were really comfortable rotating a safety down and trying to get that free hitter and dissuade the run. And they still ran it and tried to establish that identity. And then they were able to kind of play action off of that. And every time they play action, it was like a 30-yard gain to JSN or whatever. I wonder if Bowers is going to kind of step into that JSN role, or if it's going to be more of a group effort. I wonder if they're going to be playing those heavy boxes against Kubiak again this year. Are they just going to blitz Genty and be able to kind of stop them that way and just kind of stop Mendoza on their way through the line? Is that going to be just a point blank period way to stop this team? Blitz them, and they just don't have the outside weapons to punish that. That's where I get concerned about the Raiders is how can heavy boxes just shut down Genty, and do they have the quarterback and the weapons to really do too much more around that?
Yeah, I think there's a big limitation that comes with having guys who have not been proven as like number one outside players. I think it is going to be an issue, and I don't think their offensive line is like perfectly built out. It's very much a, work from 32nd, we'd be happy with 24th type of situation, especially if you feel good about like your big pieces there, because that's really what's important. So you feel like going into next offseason, you're one, draft or one free agency period away from really liking what you have, rather than being kind of mediocre across the board. But offensive line is partly, a weakest link situation, a weakest link skill group. So when you have like DJ Glaze out there or something like that, I think you're still going to end up being kind of weak.
Yeah, it definitely is a concern. I mean, you look at the Ravens and how they were with Falele out there, and then the Giants just traded him away to Jacksonville because he was so bad in the preseason, right? So yeah, you really can't afford to have any true disasters on your offensive line. I am worried about how they are going to be able to handle kind of heavy boxes, because I do feel like off rip, that's kind of how I would want to play them defensively, is just heavy man coverage, heavy boxes, right? Kind of just mug up, and you're like, well, if Kirk Cousins is out there, we know he can't move, and so we're just going to try and rush him as soon as we can. And we just don't think these receivers are really going to be able to win on the outside very quickly. And then you get Mendoza in there, who is a much better mover, but he's a rookie, and so there's going to be some growing pains there. It just feels like it's going to be really easy to kind of isolate on a single game plan defensively against the Raiders.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like you're going to have some issues where Cousins is so limited mobility-wise that he's going to have a hard time making up for a poor offensive line, especially if you're like struggling out at tackle somewhere, or if Miller and Linderbaum aren't enough. And then Mendoza is a pick that I like and a guy that I think can be successful, but is also somebody who wasn't super consistent under pressure even last year at Indiana. And you wonder, like, a rookie with receivers who aren't reliable, with an offensive line who's not reliable, who maybe like takes a pretty decent number of sacks when he gets pressured. It's like, how is that exactly going to play out in year one? It feels like the answer is probably not great, but all it needs to do is play out better than the week before enough times for you to really feel successful. And maybe there's a world where like the offensive line's a little farther away than we think, and the run game doesn't really get going because you're just kind of missing like the downfield threat. You're missing a couple of pieces to really bring it all together and not allow defenses to key in. And then all of a sudden you have a really high draft pick in a year that's a really good year to have, that third overall.
Jeremiah Smith, come on down. Yeah.
Like Jeremiah Smith, or even like, we've said it a million times, but like Dylan Stewart or some of these like there's a lot of really good players at really valuable positions at the top of this draft. So
if Crosby takes a step back, you'd be over the moon about Dylan Stewart.
Or Simmons or Leonard Moore at corner. I mean, there's a million guys like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've been sitting here thinking about Bowers and why he's not quite a JSN caliber weapon for the problems that Kubiak is going to face. And I think what it is if a tight end in the slot or attached to the line of scrimmage is your vertical threat, well, how do you keep a safety on top of somebody that's close to the core like that? He's in the middle of the field. He's single high. And the way the safety mechanics work, if a safety is single high, the other guy can rotate down into the box. So you can be in a single high situation and cap that tight end vertically in a way where the outside receiver can't be capped vertically. Like if you want to cap an outside receiver with a safety, you got to split them off to the sideline too high. Yeah. That opens up the box. That, helps your run game out a little bit. That helps everything out. I think Bowers as a tight end, I don't know if he's quite the safety splitter that like JSN would be. Now, if he pins that safety in the middle of the field and you had a sick weapon next to him, like then you'd be in some conflict, but they just don't have those sick weapons next to him. And I think playing Genty and Bowers together, like feeds into each other as a defensive scheme. Like single high kind of caps both of them a little bit. Whereas if it was Genty and a sick wide receiver or Bowers and a sick wide receiver, that would maybe put you in a little bit more conflict, but they just don't have that width to split the safeties. And so I think everybody kind of coming downhill at once can take away a lot of the weapons for the Raiders. And yeah, I just think I like Naylor. I like I said, maybe one of these guys ends up being cool because they all have their thing that they're good at. I think these weapons, they're all young players that I'm somewhat excited about. But yeah, like you said, Matt, there are teams out there with Justin Jefferson. There's teams out there with JSN. There's teams out there with Jamar Chase. And then there are teams out there with Jalen Naylor. At the end of the day, you can be excited, but they're at the bottom.
Two very different perspectives, looking at it from the angle of like, we're trying to go out and be the better team any given Sunday than everybody else. And we're comparing it to every other receiver room and going up against top corners versus like, I think this would be a fun 12th round pick in a fantasy draft, right? Maybe we like the Raiders receivers in that regard and we think there's upside, but when you compare it to other receiver rooms, they're not hoping for long shot upside. They have guys
no one's out here running
the second round.
There's no one out here running like Jahan Dotson, Leggett lineups. Like no one is doing that where you can say, well, at least I think these guys have.
Well, there's Miami is running.
Yeah, that's actually very true. They're better.
There's a couple,
Miami.
But I really, really, really dislike those teams for that very reason. And I'm nervous about the Raiders for a better, but only marginally better receiver room.
Yeah, this is a division full of teams with kind of weird or lackluster receiving rooms, and the Raiders have the worst one. Right.
Yeah. I would say as well, maybe there's a world where the defense like completely carries when you look at the results last year and are pleasantly surprised by the statistics you dig up. And they spent a lot on defense as well. Like you said, those new linebackers, but Patrick Graham, their defensive coordinator, leaves, who seemed to have been, who kind of sticked around through multiple staffs. He was there for Pete Carroll, and they've been through so many coaches so quickly. Who was even there? Antonio Pierce. He was there through multiple staffs, right? So clearly he was pretty well respected, and then kind of left, and now is the DC in Pittsburgh. So I'm a little bit worried that he's gone. It's not going to be like, oh, they started from this, actually slightly above average place and then added a bunch of free agents. This is going to be a top 5 defense that like carries a poor offense. I still think on the back end, like Teron Johnson is kind of washed as a nickel corner. Like his best years are probably behind him. And then it's Darian Porter, who's a raw second-year player, and Eric Stokes, who has never really been healthy and never been like this huge difference maker when he is in. Like the odds that those guys are the Legion of Boom, or the odds that Quay Walker becomes Fred Warner after being susceptible to, play action in middle of the field passes for so long in Green Bay. Like, I just think this secondary and isn't quite what you're looking for a defense with like elite, offense carrying potential, I'd say.
Yeah. I think they'll be better than they were last year as a team, but still last in this division. So, but that brings us to Kansas City, who weird year for them, 6-11, the worst in obviously this Mahomes era. And Mahomes is coming off a torn ACL, of course. And so there's a lot to really assess with this Chiefs team, because their defense has been taking a step back for a couple of years now, and the receivers have not really lived up to the hype over the past couple of years since the loss of Tyreek Hill. And you're looking for something on this team to really give you hope that they're going to bounce back to this Super Bowl caliber team. And the only thing that I can really think of right now is, well, they do have Mahomes, and I really like the addition of Ken Walker. I think that's going to add an element of their offense that they've been lacking since even the Tyreek Hill era, they've never really had a crazy run game.
How can we find reason for hope for the Chiefs? Let me think. Well, they are a dynasty.
Sure.
They do have the most valuable player in the NFL.
They do have the MVP and the multiple time Super Bowl champion and Andy Reid and Chris Jones.
So you think they're winning this division then?
Yes, I do.
I also have them winning the division.
Wow.
Not only that.
First off, I'm going to let you one up me on the big take about them.
All right. Not only do I have them winning the division, I think the Chiefs are my bet out of the AFC.
All right, I can get behind it. Well, here's what I'll say. Here's the argument for Kansas City actually being good this year.
Yeah.
It does hinge on Mahomes being good to go pretty early on. Maybe if there's a ramp up period, that's okay. He's going to run less. We know that. But hopefully with the addition of Kenneth Walker, they can lean more on the run game. And in passing situations, he can dump it off to Kenneth Walker. And they have somebody who's a lot more talented and can make more out of those opportunities than what they had last year.
Yeah.
The thing with Kansas City, though, is that their offense was great last year with Mahomes. They were third in EPA through the first 13 weeks. They were fifth in passing EPA. So whatever you want to tell me about the receivers being bad, I don't disagree. Kelsey isn't what he used to be. Absolutely. They don't have anybody that you really trust to win outside or to consistently beat man coverage. Do not disagree. And even if you're bought in on Cyrus Allen, we think small guys can live outside, but 170 pounds is 170 pounds at a point. And I mean, this is a fifth round rookie who now has the weight of the world on him because Rashee Rice hasn't really stepped up in the way that you'd like. He's great statistically, but we've talked about it during the fantasy episode. He's not somebody who is super dynamic. And again, his numbers against man were terrible, and Worthy has been super banged up and has not been like a great outside winner either because he's kind of light and he just doesn't have the play strength. That's going to be an issue for him, but all those things were an issue last year and they still balled out. Mahomes really is that type of guy. The success that they've had with the limitations that they've had, I think really gets undersold because people don't like to give those excuses to top quarterbacks not having the right weapons, even though it really does matter for everybody in the NFL and every quarterback who's ever played essentially. And because I think Rice and Worthy, they're really household names and on some level, not like depends on the household, I guess, right? They're not crazy popular, but you go through and it's like everybody knows these guys and they were highly drafted and they've been highly touted at points. And because of that, it doesn't feel like they have nobody. They have bigger names and they do have real skill out there.
It's the same thing with the Ravens and the way people talk about Lamar. It's like, but they've spent so much on receiver and like when they had Hollywood Brown and Zay Flowers, it's like, yeah, but they've never had Tyreek Hill, you know?
Right.
So,
right. You know, I don't think the Ravens, I don't think the Ravens have great passing weapons around Lamar. And I don't think the Bills have had great passing weapons around Josh Allen either, or Herbert for a while. You know, we could go through the list of guys, but Mahomes has gotten great results out of that. It also helps that the offensive line, I think, overall is a strength, right? Between Simmons coming back and Humphrey and Smith, it's like you've got some real winners up front, and your rushing game should be very good with somebody like Kenneth Walker, who, again, we think he's due for a big year, or at least I do, and I know you guys are big Ken Walker guys too. He's just a super talented rusher, both in elusiveness and in power. He's been in a situation where he hasn't gotten like that full bell cow workload. And obviously you want to limit him somewhat. You don't want him getting 400 touches. You don't want him getting 200 either. Like you want to put him through his paces. And I think he'll be behind probably a better offensive line than he was last year too. In fact, I would say definitely, right?
It's almost certainly the best offensive line he's ever played behind. So
probably. So, I mean, I look at the offense and if Mahomes is okay, if Mahomes is getting back to anywhere close to his regular self, even if he's just making the decision to only run when he has to pull it out, I think they're going to be in great shape. I think that they're going to be a top 5 offense. I feel pretty confident in that. And Mahomes' decision-making is just so good when it comes to like when to pull out the run. I feel confident in his ability to turn it back without getting himself into too much trouble. Maybe there's a little bit of an adjustment period earlier, but I feel pretty solid about that. The other thing about Kansas City is that for as bad as last year was, the one-score game regression hit them probably the hardest that any team has ever been hit. I don't know if that's actually true, But the year before, when they made the Super Bowl, I mean, what was their record in one score? They were like 13-0 or something unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they had like the best success rate rushing, but they were like running for 3.9 yards a carry or something like that. I mean, the numbers were ridiculous. And then last year, they're 1-9 in one score games.
Yeah.
I suspect that can recover somewhat. And if you don't lose Mahomes, which then completely ends your season, if you're Kansas City, you probably, even if you're just about the same as you were last year, you're probably looking at like a 10-11 win team rather than, a 6-8 win team, somewhere in that range. I do worry about the defense, to be honest with you. I don't think that they're in great shape. I think the corner room is super questionable, especially with the Delane injury stuff makes me nervous. But even with all the talent they lost, the defensive line I still think has a lot of pieces here, and we'll see how quickly Woods can come along. But Chris Jones is still somebody you can build the pass rush around, and I like the Tonga addition, and Karlaftis is still there. So you're like, all right, you see the vision. And if Delane is good to go, I do think he's talented enough to step in and be a number one right away. And then it's just all about finding the other guys at corner, which I feel like is often my question for Kansas City. And they always seem to have another dude ready to go. Noel Williams is somebody who's getting a lot of hype. They brought Snead back. I know they have Cater Kohu. These are some names that are making me nervous that have not performed particularly well over the last couple of years. But I don't know. In a very aggressive defense, we'll see what Spags can cook up. If he can keep the defense about average, then the path for Kansas City to like have an awesome offense with Mahomes cooking and then go into the playoffs and say, we've got a team that's good enough to do it with Mahomes and our defense is okay, but they're going to make some big plays and we could go on a run just as much as anybody else. Completely reasonable. Are they my favorite in the AFC? I honestly don't know. But they've got just as good a shot to win the AFC West as Denver and the Chargers, in my opinion. It's very, very close.
I think that's fair to say. I just don't know if I have it in me to say that they'll win it, just because I am so worried about this defense compared to the Chargers and compared to Denver. I mean, they easily have the worst defense between these three teams at the top. And like the Chargers are also, I don't want to get into the Chargers too much, but like the Chargers are also getting like major pieces back, right? They're going to be much healthier on the offensive line. And like they won 11 games off of just like Herbert hero ball. So I do have some hope that like maybe this Chargers team could be really good and be better than them. And the Broncos,
for sure.
I think this Broncos team just kind of sits in a tier above both of them to me right now. That might be
I could see
my hot take.
I mean, I think there's a really fair argument. Honestly, there might be a little bit of, I think the Chiefs are kind of underrated right now, and I'm picking them because odds on Denver has a defense that will probably be top 5 again. That brings back a bunch of major pieces. And then they have an average offense that is adding a star player. And outside of that is staying really, really consistent. So it's easier to say like, well, even if the offense just like pushes for top 10, just gets like a little better. Waddle is just like a good ad, not even elite. That combination with a top 5 defense could put them pretty easily ahead of like, I don't know, like Kansas City, who we feel like can have a top 5 offense, but then has a defense that's more fighting to be average. Whereas it feels like the Broncos offense is taking that next step, if you want to look at it like that. With the Chargers, I think that they also can win this division 100%. I really am interested to see what the offense looks like. And you have Justin Herbert, and that does a lot for you like it did last year. They did not make the playoffs off of Herbert hero ball alone. That isn't
their defense was sick. Their defense
was very good. And I'm trying to say this properly, but like, yeah, their defense is what got them in.
Yeah.
Their passing offense was still not good. Now, Herbert made it so where they went from like what otherwise would have likely been the worst passing offense into serviceable enough to keep defenses honest and keep you in games. And that's how you can go, they were 6-1 in one score games or whatnot. And that's how you can take advantage of a defense that was really good. But it's not like, well, if you did this, then how can they not be way better with a way better offense? Well, the defense, I think, is far from a guarantee. And when I look at its talent, just like on paper, I don't think it's particularly special. I think it's good. I think it's solid, but it wouldn't be a shocker if you lose a really good coordinator and that defense maybe is closer to average than it is what it was last year.
Yeah, I'll put the Chiefs at second. I can get behind that. The problem is, I think all three of these teams might just make the playoffs in this division. It's tough though, because then you go and list through the teams that you would have in the AFC, and if you say Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, right, Patriots, Bills. And then who are your last two? Are you taking?
Right.
I mean, you gotta take. So it's what, Jaguars and Ravens or Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, there are three objectively good teams in this division. There is absolutely no disputing that. And it'll be a war to see who wins it for sure. But for me, the thing that sets the Chiefs apart, and I've said it a bunch of times this offseason, like, I just haven't noticed slippage in Patrick Mahomes. Like, apparently a lot of people have when you see him ranked, and, you know, Josh Allen above him in a bunch of polls, and, you know, Mahomes even falling beneath number 2 in a lot of people's quarterback rankings. Like, I just don't think that's the reality. When I turn on the Chiefs tape, he's still the thing that I feel best about in this entire division. Like, he's like a supercomputer getting through reads. I think he absolutely finds the right targets quickly, no matter where they are in the play, and then just hits them. It doesn't seem to matter the window that they're in or the platform he has to release from. And if he can read everything and hit all the throws, like, it's tough to play quarterback better than that. And I think Mahomes is kind of the best at finding targets and hitting them. Like, it's that simple. And as far as the weapons go, like, yeah, I get that they're bad, but I'm looking at the top 10 yards per route run receiving options in this division. 4 out of the top 10 are Chiefs. It's Rashee Rice at number 1. It's Travis Kelce, Tyquan Thornton, and it's even Marquise Hollywood Brown in that top 10 of guys with at least 40 targets. And then there's 3 Chargers, 2 Broncos, and 1 Raider, which kind of is like how the quarterback is kind of in that ranking too as well, right? I just feel like no matter who you put around Mahomes, they're going to be efficient wide receivers. Like, if this is a terrible wide receiving core, you wouldn't really know it looking at what they do per target, because Mahomes gives them a lot of great throws to do a whole lot with. And I look at what they've got now, maybe more Rashee Rice. He only played a small handful of games last year. He averaged 80 yards a game. And then, yeah, what is Cyrus Allen? What is Tyquan Thornton now that he's had another year in the system and has an extension, and maybe he gets more targets than Xavier Worthy gets, and that's a little deserved, and you kind of streamline who's good and kind of shed some of the sunk cost. I don't know. Maybe Kelce doesn't have to bat so many balls up into the air and have them picked off versus teams like the Eagles, like that lost them that game at the end after a brilliant Mahomes drive. Maybe like, football is such a weird sport, and the bounces can have such crazy ripple effects like that result in these wild swings in 1-score game opportunities that you saw from the Chiefs and that the Broncos will be trying to stave off. And then you actually have the tempo that is K9. Like, you can hand it off. And this is a great offensive line with Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and Simmons, their first round rookie, who also missed time for kind of weird reasons last season. Can he stay healthy? Like, I think that they've got, I did a lot of shifting this offseason, guys, a lot of astral projecting, and I close my eyes and I put myself in the mind of an NFL linebacker, and I imagined every NFL backfield, and I got to where I was lining up and I was looking at Patrick Mahomes and K9 in the backfield, and it's like, I feel like I'm about to die if I'm an NFL linebacker and it's those two as the 2 options to touch the ball. Like, there's just so much creativity. There's so much make you miss ability. The play is just never, ever over. Even if the offensive line gets shredded, it feels like both of those two are able to do a lot with the ball. I think it's going to be really dynamic. I think that they're going to shoot for a top offense in the NFL, top 5. And I just don't know if I feel that good about any of the other offenses in this division hitting those heights. Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. It is interesting. The top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL are probably also the top 3 backfields in the NFL. Mahomes, K9, Lamar, and Derrick Henry, and Allen and James Cook. Those are all really, really terrifying backfields. Theo doing his astral projection.
I was scary when I shifted and Cammie had to calm me down because I was kind of like wailing and shaking, and she had to bring me back to this realm
from Infinity War when he's looking through all the possibilities. And
yeah, I was getting really upset, and yeah, all the possibilities ended with me getting juked absolutely out of my shoes when I looked into the Chiefs backfield. It was very scary indeed.
I think Kenneth Walker would stiff arm you in many, many timelines, if I'm being honest, if you're playing linebacker.
Many timelines.
And honestly, it might be that like Trey Smith works to the second level and you're not even a factor to Kenneth
Dude,
Walker.
I was about to say, like, there might be a lot of plays where, like, 99% of these timelines, you might not even get a hand on Ken Walker. You might be lucky for him to stiff arm you.
Well, I was shifting into Nakobe Dean's psyche, so I wasn't too worried about the physicality of it because it wasn't me. You know, it was just my essence.
You were more of you're like a
passenger.
Yeah, you're a passenger in his body. Okay, I see what you mean.
But yeah, they got deep threats. Like they got underneath threats who can make you miss. They got Kelsey, who is, I think, a little bit underrated at this point in time. When you look at the numbers from last year, like he's not that terrible of a receiving threat tight end, honestly. Again, what was mainly frustrating about him was just the drops at seemingly the worst moments, and that could continue. I mean, people don't tend to turn it around or have breakout seasons when they're 36-year-old tight ends who have been declining for years. But I also don't think like Kelsey is this negative matchup piece that like Mahomes is not able to do like anything with. Like the Broncos, their starting tight end is Evan Ingram. Like I think I'd rather have Travis Kelsey than that. You know, like I just don't think Kelsey has to be this huge negative, like he ends up, you know, horrific EPA per target numbers or anything like that.
Yeah. But before we move on, I of course have to talk about some of our good friends of the show. First, you know, we're going to talk about Rula. You know, Chiefs fans, you've kind of been experiencing maybe a lot of different emotions recently. You know, probably broke your heart to see Mahomes tear his ACL. It could have been a bit stressful, anxiety inducing. And if you've been dealing with some of that, Rula can help. Finding a therapist can be difficult enough, but finding one who actually takes your insurance can make it even harder. Rula is a healthcare company that helps you find quality therapists and mental health experts who specialize in you. And they work with over 100 insurance plans. The average Rula patient pays about $15 per session when using insurance, although your actual cost, of course, depends on your specific benefits. And Rula helps you find a therapist based on your needs, preferences, and what you're looking for, rather than just sending you to whoever happens to be available. So if you've been thinking about trying therapy, go to Rula.com/stayhot to get started. That's RULA.com/stayhot. Again, Rula.com/stayhot to find quality therapy that's covered by insurance. And, you know, while you're at it, you might as well go outside and grill. I'm sure that's what your therapist would tell you to do, is go out and grill while the summer is still going, while the sun is still shining. But, you know, everyone loves grilling, but the second you move past, burgers and steaks, things can get a little frustrating, a little bit fast. Food can stick, vegetables can fall through the grates, and fish can fall apart when you try to flip it, and somehow cleanup can take longer than the actual meal. That's why we love Hexclad's Barbecue Collection. They have this barbecue grill pan that lets you cook things like vegetables, seafood, and fish right on the grill without losing them through the gates, and while still letting the heat and smoke through. And best part is it's dishwasher safe, so cleanup is super easy. So if you're planning on spending time behind the grill this summer, check out Hexclad's barbecue collection and get 10% off by going to hexclad.com/stayhot. Again, that is hexclad.com/stayhot. The Chargers, we briefly touched on, of course, during the Chiefs section. Justin Herbert is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Their offensive line should be healthier this year. They won 11 games last year. Their defense was pretty good. And they're adding a very good offensive play caller. This is maybe the one thing that could jumpstart this offense is a little McDaniels action. So I'm very interested to see what this season looks like, because there are a lot of different pathways. They're also losing defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. So a little bit of addition, a little bit of subtraction. I've been going back and forth. Coming into this episode, I had the Chargers as the second team in this division, but you guys have convinced me to put Kansas City above them and move them to third. I still think this is a playoff team, but I don't entirely know if I think they're worse than Kansas City yet.
Well, how bad is Biotish hurt? I mean, that's step one. He messed up his ACL, but it didn't say tear, I don't think. I mean,
he said out indefinitely is why.
It's not great. Now, maybe he'll be back in a reasonable amount of time, but without him, the interior of the offensive line is just not good, I don't think. I mean, it's relying on like Cole Strange, and I guess Slaughter would then slide into center most likely as a rookie. I mean, it'll be better than it was last year if the tackles stay healthy, and obviously those tackles are two of the very best in the NFL and the best tackle duo in the NFL off the top of my head. Well, Mulata and Lane Johnson probably is up there too. Regardless, one of the best, like clearly elite. And with how bad they were last year, you expect to see a lot of growth out of that. You expect to see a more creative run game that can threaten more horizontally and get guys in space and hopefully take some of the weight off of Herbert's shoulders. And with McDaniel, like, you should be really excited. He's kind of maybe a not his fault guy in some ways, where he's been on offenses that were led by Tua, who is one of the most limited starting quarterbacks in the NFL. How does McDaniel grow when he's got somebody who can hit absolutely everything and can do absolutely everything and can create and hit every type of throw and has, access to the entire field? I'm really excited to see that. The offense as a whole, I don't think is like perfectly well-rounded. It's not like there's a bunch of guys or position groups where I just have no questions, right? The offensive line is still shaky. The receiver group is interesting. I like the tight end ads, but there's no like one completely dominant player there. And Hampton is kind of an enigma. He's an interesting guy, and we'll see how he ends up slotting into all of this. I ultimately think that their offense is going to be very good, but it's concerning. You're already having injury issues on what sunk you last year due to injury issues.
It is concerning. I don't know. The receivers do concern me a little bit. Like, Quentin Johnson has been getting better. Ladd's coming off of a down year. Trey Harris is interesting. People are kind of hoping that he's another big body vertical threat.
I kind of like Trey Harris when I kind of went back and watched him. He's exciting to me.
Yeah, I can see the
camp highlights. I don't know, like, it's training camp highlights. Who really cares? But like, he's making like diving back shoulder catches through contact. It's been pretty nice. And then I went back and looked at his film from last year, and it's like, man, he can break a route off. He's physical, and if he's making these kinds of catches, like, he's pretty intriguing to me. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I guess the real problem is that once you get past those guys, the depth at receiver is completely non-existent. And so if any of those guys go down, even if they're having a pretty good year, you really start to feel very shaky. Even though, like, yeah, Theo, you're right, the tight ends are interesting with Gadsden and Njoku, but like, you need Njoku to kind of turn into a version of himself from 3 years ago in order to really reap the benefits of that to a high degree. There's just a lot of ifs, a lot of question marks, I feel like, with a lot of weapons.
I don't agree with that. I guess they're not strong at like receiver 4, but that's true for almost every team.
Lambert Smith is a preseason standout that just didn't really translate to the regular season. I don't think he was on the same page with Herbert much last year, but I think he's got talent. And then there's Brennan Thompson,
who's really cool. He's kind of an interesting guy too. So, I mean, I don't like think that these guys are world beaters, that you're fine without, if you get injured. But I do think there's like a pathway here where it's like, can Johnston get in better situations? Can Trey Harris be your other guy on the outside? And then Ladd probably will be in a better situation, at least from a production standpoint, without Keenan Allen there. And I want him doing that work over Keenan Allen at this point pretty easily. As far as the tight ends go, I mean, I don't know if you need Njoku from 3 years ago. Like, he was a 1 year, $3 million signing. What you need is somebody who can go in there and be a threat to catch the ball still, of course, but like really be a threat in 12 personnel to block and force guys to get downhill. And he's still got that size and physicality. Plus, like, even last year, he was working off of an injury. He was banged up and coming back from that. So is there any room for him to just be healthier than he was? I think there's certainly some potential. And then Kohler is also going to be out there a lot as well. And he's coming off of his best season. And we talked about him last year, or not last year, last episode, and how I think he's going to have a big role. So I don't know. Like,
that's really fair.
The thing is they don't have like any weapon where you say, well, this guy for sure is like a complete game changer. It's more guys that you're asking to fill roles rather than guys who you think game plans will completely build themselves around, or dudes who are just kind of unproven. And then the interior offensive line without Biotis is just kind of rough. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I guess that is fair. Like, if you have a bunch of guys to fill roles and you have the offensive play caller that you feel confident in to put everyone in the right spot and to have a good, first 20 play script and then be able to adjust throughout the game very well, then yeah, they probably are in a pretty good spot personnel wise. And I could be underselling the tight end room a decent amount as far as what they want to do.
They're in a good spot personnel wise because they have Justin Herbert. I'll tell you that right now. Like, it's that simple. And as good as Herbert is, the Miami Dolphins offense has been better than the Chargers since McDaniel was hired in 2022. They've been 12th in offensive EPA per play. The Chargers have been like 16th. And that's what's really intriguing. Like, some of these coordinators, man, or these play calling head coaches can manufacture such elite units year after year after year. I mean, looking at the Packers, if you throw on I know this. It's funny that I know this, but if you throw in any kind of garbage time filter to the EPA stats, they have the number one passing offense in the league since Jordan Love started. Nobody thinks Jordan Love is the best quarterback in the league, but nobody has more efficient passing results since he became the starter. And why is that? It's because of just inbreakers being there consistently. Why does Purdy always have elite numbers every year? Why does Mac Jones come in and have elite numbers as well? Why does the Rams, cook with Jared Goff and then Matthew Stafford comes in and touches peaks he's never touched before? It's because there's this guy who was around in 2016 Washington who just had he has the playbook. Like, he just has maybe the most valuable thing in the NFL, which is just this philosophy and this ability to consistently get explosive off shorter passes. Like, they're not big go balls. They're not, the big post down the middle. It's play action. You spin around, you throw it to a hash mark, and bang, there's somebody there at just the right time. And it's well coordinated. Like, they're just good coordinators to develop explosives that quarterbacks can hit extremely easily, even if they're Jimmy Garoppolo, even if they're Malik Willis, even if they're Tua Tagovailoa. You put somebody like Justin Herbert into that scheme, like, what if it is Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay? That's what you think about, because yes, This has been such a humming offense in Miami over the years, but now you can do things like run a double move off an inbreaker or something like that. You can not only attack the hashes at a crazy rate, you can also cover up the warts that happen with personnel. Like, yeah, maybe the center will get beat. Justin Herbert's used to that. Maybe it is a tight window. Justin Herbert can throw it down there. Maybe it's invert Tampa too. Well, you take that inbreaker and then you put it between the two safeties instead of like right in front of the safety rotating down. And Justin Herbert can split that way downfield. So pairing Herbert with McDaniels to me is really intriguing, obviously. And like the Chiefs have a offense that maybe has a higher ceiling than anybody else in this division, or it has over the last couple of years. Like the results, just no one comes close to the Chiefs. But I think the Chargers now have the quarterback and play caller combination that maybe can threaten those results. And then they don't have the same like clear weakness on the back end that the Chiefs do. So I think the Chargers are threatening, but they're cursed. And I don't like their ability to run up the middle and just like get powerful and have like these cheap run plays with no potential for a big explosive loss. Like some of these tosses out to the perimeter have, like, they weren't very good, or Hampton wasn't very good in those situations anyway. And they have maybe the worst interior in the league again. And like, I get that Miami didn't have great guards either, but Tua got rid of the ball so fast. I don't know if Herbert will be interested in taking it out of his hands as quickly, and could he be more affected by the lack of guard play than Tua was, even though I think Herbert is obviously a better quarterback. Like, yeah, I think that's fair to say that maybe he can't cover up that specific weakness as much. So I stop a little bit short in thinking, oh, this Chargers team is like absolutely going to cook, absolutely going to hit their full potential, especially with Minter gone on the defensive side. Like, is this a defense that is really going to melt your face, or does it have the personnel and the potential to be something closer to average? I mean, their pass rush doesn't exactly blow you away. They have run stuffing defensive tackles, I'd say. They like keeping their safeties at, hey, I guess that doesn't really matter for pass rush, what you do with your safeties, but they're more.
They have Khalil Mack, and Tier Tart's a solid player still, but Mack's really the only dominant or like really high level force.
And Mesidor has moments as a pass rusher for sure. I think he's got to kind of develop and see the whole field and understand, the chip helps coming at him and all the things he has to do when it's not just like a wide 9 pin your ears back moment, because he's got the juice to win in that situation. You saw that in the preseason, but what happens if there's, some chips or some misdirections? Like, all the little nuances of the paths that you take for each situation, I think, need some time to develop with him. So and Mac is very old. So, and Tier Tart's not really a pass rusher. So I worry about the pass rush situation maybe without Minter, because I thought he was really elite. And this was a top 6. I think they were 6th in pressure rate on 3rd and 4th down and things like that. I thought he did a really great job taking the linebackers and having a high rate of success when it was time to get off the field and really finishing drives. That's something I'm worried about losing with Minter is that pass rush in those crucial moments to get off the field and get the ball back to Justin Herbert. We'll see if they're able to manufacture that with a new coordinator and this pass rushing personnel.
Last thing I'll say about the Chargers is I loved seeing McDaniel's reaction to Justin Herbert hitting a hole shot in practice. He's like, that's all. You can only do that if you've got a rocket for an arm.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you talked about it in that clip where like we're going to run a bunch of inbreakers and it's going to get predictable. And that was the problem with Miami, is eventually those things got predictable. But now you have a quarterback who can make every throw. So it doesn't have to be a short pass that's explosive. It can be a 70-yard bomb with Justin Herbert, which is just... Yeah. What could that look like? It could be crazy.
I will say this, like, I know that McDaniels got a lot out of an offense that had a pretty interesting quarterback situation, but they had great results because they invested heavily at receiver.
Yep.
And they had like other star players. They had Tyreek and Waddle, and the Chargers don't have that, and really Tyreek. And I like McDaniels. I think that he's going to get a lot out of this offense. I don't agree with I don't disagree with the overall point that you're making, but I also don't think it's as simple as like McDaniel was there and therefore they were blank. Although even last year they were really good. But you know what? They have Brewer, who is kind of like very, very special, like maybe the number one guy you would want for a rushing offense like this, or Devon Achane. Like, I think he's unbelievable and a really special talent in himself. So it wasn't
and Waddle
just
still. They had Waddle last year.
Yeah. Even if Waddle has been kind of like banged up and not quite as productive as maybe you would have hoped as like the true number one there or anything. So I think the Chargers will be good. I guess I probably still have them at third because no matter what happens, they can't seem to get due. They're never due somehow. And there's always injuries, and Biadasz going down is really brutal. And I kind of just think the defense is going to be okay. I guess the way I would put it is that I feel like I would rather bet on Denver's offense than the Chargers defense, because it really feels like the Broncos are adding, whereas the Chargers are losing, but maybe that's an overreaction.
It's a great point about the wide receivers and the speed, because that's something that was so prioritized in Miami, is just like get as fast as humanly possible. And Tua, he hits the top of his drop, and those in-breaking routes are so far down the field so quickly that is what caused so many fits, or that's a huge aspect of what caused so many fits. I mean, Quentin Johnson is fast, but he's not that fast. And if he's moving at that speed, breaking over the middle, like what are the odds he actually catches the ball?
Ball skill wise, he's not quite Tyreek. And that's a big limitation in this offense compared to Miami's for sure. I don't know. I don't think that they're bad at receiver, though. I don't think they're like a disaster or anything. I still really like Ladd. I still think he's a great player. I think he's due for a big year. I still think Hampton. I don't know. I'm all over the place with him, but I think
I
they're
like him on a
right.
runway. I like him like toss, and there's a crease out in front of him. I mean, he can get so much speed, and he's so big. What I don't like is if it's soup in the middle, like, can he find any way to kind of bob and weave through like a bad interior offensive line?
Right. I agree.
Like,
well, here's the vision for the Chargers offense then, is that they have Herbert and they have McDaniels. Herbert can do anything. McDaniels is this great offensive mind. And then they have a lot of guys in the weapons department where it's like, I like them doing this. They're not some overall guy who can do everything and you have to game plan against entirely, but they're all guys who can be useful in their own regards doing certain things. And it does feel like between Herbert and McDaniels, they're going to be able to unlock what makes Hampton good or what makes Johnston good, or get Ladd in better situations than he was last year, Trey Harris or the tight ends or whoever. That's what I think. So I think that they're going to be really good. It'll just come down to the defense and how do you do in those close games? Probably they're a team that's good, but not otherworldly great.
Here's a question
they could easily win.
Whose defense do you think will be better, Kansas City's or the Chargers?
I think it'll probably be the Chargers.
Yeah, I think the Chargers as well. I think the Chargers as well, but it's not easy. It's not easy. I think.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Jones and Peter Woods is a lot more pass rushing juice, I feel like, quickly than what the Chargers have.
There's some real disaster scenarios for the cornerback room in Kansas City, though, and just the secondary on the whole. And they were worse last year, and they lost a lot. They really did lose. I mean, like 4 serious starters, So
maybe Spags just locks in.
Maybe. I don't think Spags is bad or anything, but I also don't think he's like somebody who can just create a great defense out of thin air. They weren't that great last year. They were just average. So
he's no Flores.
I like the Chargers defense better, but certainly, those mid-range of defenses, anything that isn't like top 5 or bottom 5, honestly, who knows year to year. So
yeah,
100%. They were kind of borderline, like separate. They kind of borderline separated themselves last year, I'd say. Like, they were better than average, that's for sure. But then there's that tier of like, here's the Texans, here's the Seahawks, here's the Broncos, here's like, they weren't quite at that level. So losing Minter, could they get sucked into that vacuum of average? I think it's certainly possible, but I got the Chargers at second. I think it's any given year, Justin Herbert can win MVP or be the hypothetical version of himself where he, balls out and throws for 5,000 yards like he has in the past. I think he absolutely carried them to the playoffs last year without his best two offensive players. Slater's been banged up in training camp too, which doesn't help the cursed allegations, but he's not out for the year, I hope. It's kind of vague though. But
Theo, you have the Broncos third?
Yep.
That feels...
You got the Broncos in a tier by themselves at the top?
Yeah, they've got easily the best defense in this division, like by a lot, right? And then their offense, which is like pretty good, added the best receiver point blank in this division now by a lot. Like, I do feel like this like it is sort of an oversimplification of their offseason a little bit to just be like, well, their defense already rocks and they added Jalen Waddle. But like Bo Nix is a fine quarterback, right? He's really twitchy, really athletic, and I feel like they're going to be able to access a lot of stuff on the sideline with Waddle and with Sutton, even though Sutton does have a tendency to get hurt. But I think their offense is going to be pretty good. And so does Waddle, yeah, and that's the thing to definitely be concerned about. But they've dealt with injuries before, and they win a lot of games. They won 14 last year. The big thing that I feel is I really do like their slew of running backs in some capacity, in the sense that like I think Dobbins is good, but I doubt he's going to play the full season. And then I really like Jonah Coleman, and I think he's probably going to beat out RJ Harvey.
How good is that though?
I think
so do you think it's like, there's a vision of the Broncos where it's like a super team around Bo Nix, and Bo Nix is good enough to be like, Jalen Hurts or Sam Darnold, or he's kind of in that tier of quarterback,
yeah, I mean,
right?
It doesn't even have to be a super team on offense necessarily. It's just the defense is so cracked that we're kind of talking about them through like the inverse lens that we are Kansas City, where we're like, well, if the Kansas City offense we assume is going to be pretty good with Mahomes back, and if their defense can get closer to average, then, well, they'll probably be okay. This Broncos defense, I'm like, well, they're so fast at rushing the passer. They have the best cornerback in the sport. They're going to be a top 5 unit in the NFL again. If their offense, which was already like pretty average, can be better now with a more explosive receiver on the outside, and Bo Nix continuing to progress, maybe even if he stays the same, I feel like this is probably just the better team.
I would say this about the Broncos. Look, they're a good team. They're a complete team for sure. Like I said, objectively good. Three objectively good teams in this division. But
yes,
there's 3 teams that they beat convincingly last season.
Okay.
Those 3 being the Bengals in week 4. They beat them 28-3, but that was with Browning. They beat the Cowboys 44-24. Cowboys had Dak, nothing fake about like the backup quarterback look there, but the Cowboys missed the playoffs. And then they beat Trey Lance's Chargers 19-3. Those are, I think, the only non-score games that they had last year. So that's where I get concerned about the Broncos, is like they won a lot of games last year. They've had a lot of success under Bo Nix. That's 100% true. But have they really blown you away? I mean, there's so many close wins.
They would have went to the Super Bowl last year.
Sure, they would have went to the Super Bowl if Bo Nix didn't break his ankle. They also would have been first round exits if Josh Allen doesn't fumble before halftime, or if that ball maybe doesn't bounce into McMillan's hands. So you can play the what if game, like, oh yeah, what if they went to the Super Bowl? What would have happened then? But you can also say
Bo Nix breaking his ankle is very different than like.
Well,
Well, they were 11-1 in one-score games. Like, what if it? Look at the Chiefs. They were what? How good were they last 2 years ago? Because they had this luck, and then it totally fell apart. Or the Vikings with Kirk Cousins, like wildly flipped up and down every year because they weren't good enough to blow teams out. They were good enough to win close. And then some years that resulted in 12 wins, and then some years that resulted in 6. Are the Vikings kind of just like the Kirk Cousins, or are the Broncos kind of like a Kirk Cousins Vikings type of team? I mean, they had good defenses, they had great weapons, they had a lot going for them, but they didn't have the staying power of a Chiefs dynasty. You know what I mean? Or a team with Mahomes or Herbert or anything like that.
They did win a lot of one-score games last year, sure. But I honestly don't think that's really disqualifying to anything that Blaiden said. They, outside of the fact that they were not a 14-win level team last year, they won a lot of close games, and they probably aren't
the same
really,
way that the Patriots maybe weren't like a 14-win.
Sure, and honestly, most teams that win 14 games are not, and they just get hot. I agree with that, and you could set their, if they were 7-6 in one-score games, then they're sitting around what, 11-6 or something like that, or 10-7. But I could also say the same thing for the Chiefs. Like if they were 500 in their one-score games, they'd have around 10 wins last year. So I don't think that like immediately puts them out of the race, unless we were viewing this as like, well, they won 14 games last year and they added Waddle and that's it, and the defense will be top 5 and the offense will be better. Yeah. Right. Like if we were saying that, then I would really agree. I think Denver's defense, is Cooper going to miss time? Because if he misses time and Jonathan Franklin-Meyer, if you lose Cooper and Jonathan Franklin-Meyer, they still have like enough there, obviously, so where you're not like they have nobody who can rush the passer. They very much do, but it's certainly like a big loss. So yeah, I feel pretty good about them being in that top 5 range defensively. Offensively, I mean, I don't know if I agree with going division by division or like saying where does this rank as analysis for where the team's going to land, because then you can say like, well, their offensive line's the best in the division, which probably is. Yeah. And like the receivers are, but it's a low bar. That's what's sneaky about that one. And then you turn around and you don't say, well, if they have the worst running backs, maybe in the division, well, you wouldn't say that. So it's like, it's kind of, picking and choosing your framing there a little bit.
They might have the worst running backs in the division.
Depends on what you think of the Chargers backfield, I guess. But, like, I think that they're interesting rather than really good. I don't feel strongly about the running back room, I guess. I mean, I really liked Coleman, but it's not like I'm sitting here basing my prediction on them off of the RBs. It really is just going to come down to Nix, man. I mean, the reason you would pick against them is Bo Nix, and the reason that you would pick for them is that you feel like the rest of the team is strong enough so where an average quarterback is going to get good results. Now, Nix is a tough evaluation. We've been talking about him all offseason because there's just a lot at play here. He's coming off this bizarro ankle injury, which you figure should be fine, but you're at least keeping an eye on. Week 1, you're certainly watching to say, how does he look? He doesn't take a lot of sacks, but he also bails from the pocket a ton. He can create, but maybe you feel like he's a little bit too wild with it. He's produced only okay offensive results, but he's also coming off of, he ended his season with a playoff win that people really didn't think they were going to get, or that was against a quarterback that's kind of in a different tier. And then because he didn't play against the Patriots, or then maybe in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, there's no like negative game to kind of balance things out. So maybe you feel like he's gotten kind of overrated in certain circles on Twitter. But at the same time, you want to leave the door open for him to improve because he's only going into his 3rd year, and because he is getting a star receiver, and nothing can help a quarterback like getting a star receiver. Ultimately, even if you think that the Broncos offense is only going to take a marginal jump, it's pretty easy to see them at the top of this division. And honestly, like I guess my question would be, do you think the offense won't take a marginal jump, or do you think the defense won't be top 5? Because if it's not one of those two, then it's like you need to think the Chargers defense is top 10 again, or you need to think that Kansas City has like the number 1 offense, or their defense is like at least as good, if not better than last year, or then you're just kind of getting into like, well,
sure,
maybe by DVOA, the Chiefs will be a little worse, but they're just going to win the 1-score games, which I'm not going to necessarily say isn't going to happen, because certainly it could, but
yeah.
I think that both are on the table for the Broncos, where the defense takes a bit of a step back and the offense doesn't like really ascend. I think the defense looks good on paper. I don't expect this to be a bad defense, but I look at the back half of the season. They allowed 26 points to the Commanders, 26 to the Packers, 34 to the Jaguars, 30 to the Bills in that game. They were pretty average to end the year. And they lost Jonathan Franklin-Myers. They really had a quiet free agency until the Waddle signing. So they just didn't really add in a whole legion of players to help reinforce anything. They still have Riley Moss at that second corner spot. And they play a lot of man coverage, and we've seen him get picked on in the past. I think the run defense, like without JFM, could suffer a little bit. I feel like they've got more quick hitting pass rusher bodies than necessarily great run defenders, although their aggressive scheme helps that a lot. They've lost Jim Leonard, one of their top assistants on defense. I don't think any of that means that they have to be, bad on defense or anything, but it's like, can we just lock in with a bullet that this is the third best defense in the league? I don't necessarily think so. But the bigger question is Nix, and how good is Bo Nix? That is the question. And I just want to see a little bit more from him. Maybe Waddle unlocks it. It's fascinating to see if Waddle will unlock it. But for a guy who drops back as much as he does, there's just so little like real processing or pocket passing that I feel like he does. He really is one of the worst in the league when he targets that kind of intermediate middle and has to layer things, and does it more infrequently than just about anybody else. And that's with the best pass protection in the entire league. And I think for Waddle to be very useful, you really need to get him on the move in those intermediate areas. So what's going to happen? Is it going to be Waddle brings that out of Nix, or is it going to be Nix keeps Waddle out of those situations and keeps him more like as a direct Troy Franklin replacement downfield, which would be good. I mean, I think Waddle's better at that than Troy Franklin is, but you want him to kind of unlock this whole new part of the offense, but we just haven't really seen it with Bo Nix. And then I'm like, what if something goes wrong? Sean Payton isn't calling plays anymore. It's Davis Webb. Davis Webb got a lot of head coaching interest, but we haven't seen him call plays. And Sean Payton is a historically amazing play caller, right? Like it's kind of a risk to do that.
Sure.
What if there's more injury? What if like the Packer game last year, I think about all the dropped interceptions that Green Bay had that could have swung that game. I just feel like this Broncos team got so many breaks last year with these close games, health, like dropped interceptions, all these things. I can definitely see a world where the Broncos are, a 14-win team that got better, a Super Bowl contender. But I don't necessarily think that's their destiny, or that's how it has to go. I think they're a team with some real big star players, some great offensive linemen, some great secondary pieces, some fun wide receiving weapons and all that. But I feel that same way about like the Colts, for example, who have Sauce and Buckner and Stewart and Quentin Nelson and Jonathan Taylor, right? You're like, man, those are some huge names, but questions about the quarterback and consistency of defense year over year and some of the analytic nerd stuff, I just think falls a little bit against what the Broncos are going forward. And what I would really like to see is Nix develop into a star player. Maybe he can do that, and this is all for nothing and they win the Super Bowl. I could see it, but at the moment, I think I would rather bet on offenses led by Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, and those defenses aren't necessarily slouches either. So that's where I land on the Broncos.
No, and I'm with you on I trust offenses with Mahomes and Herbert more for sure, and they have better play callers, I would say, as well. Although, I don't think the Broncos are a poorly coached team by any stretch. I will say, though, to your point about the Broncos defense taking a step back from like week 10 on, they're pretty league average. that same stretch, Bo Nix is top 5 in EPA per play, top 5 in success rate. He throws for 300 yards 3 times. Like, he was kind of in his bag a little bit more down the stretch towards the end of the year. Like, I think it is very possible that, like, that this team is able to kind of play off of itself a little bit. And, you know, maybe the defense is only at 30% today. Bo Nix can pick up the other 70. Maybe Bo Nix is at 50 and the defense is going to be 50. Like, I think they can sort of play some complementary football when they need to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I just don't know what will happen with them. And look,
I don't know what's going to happen with the Chiefs, man.
I agree.
Like, this whole division is full of question marks.
I think Waddle is a really big ad for the short game stuff. I think he can do a lot more with that than anybody else that they have. I'm really, really torn on this. And I also, in general, I think like the value of having that Herbert and Mahomes that's what makes the Chargers and the Chiefs threats to a Broncos roster that overall is like definitely better. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't know if I can quite get to the point where I'm like, well, because I have those guys, that's why they're better. And that's like enough in itself, when we've seen over the last few years and just in general, it's not enough by itself. The quarterback, it doesn't necessarily have to be. I believe that both of them are going to have very good offenses, but the defense is the defense and it's just completely unrelated. And it's just, I don't think the Chiefs or the Chargers are going to have a defense like the Broncos, though. So I'm kind of talking myself into Denver. I don't disagree about the limitations with Bo Nix at all. I think it's super, super valid to mention that he can't throw over the middle of the field, even if he did hit that like seam against Buffalo that immediately comes to your mind when you say that. In general, his
Packers too. He hit as soon as Micah went out. He looked a lot better throwing layered shots. So it happened.
Better throwing.
So and that's part of the equation here is that, you know, Nick's, it's not impossible for him, but the rate at which he did it last year and the efficiency was terrible. And there is major limitations are going to be if you have somebody who is just not accessing a major part of the field, especially if you go line up against great defenses.
And especially if the run game isn't, you know, elite as well.
Right. I mean, you would have hoped that it would have been better last year with how good the offensive line is and bringing back mostly the same dudes. I know that Dobbins could stay healthier, or like, I really do like Jonah Coleman. I really do. But
I
I'm
like
also
Coleman more than Hampton. That's my hot take.
Even if that's the case, I mean, are you so high on Coleman that it's going to like have? Are you so high on Coleman that you're like picking them to have a way better run game because of him? That just seems like a very high bar for a guy who I don't even know if he's a lock to have like 150 touches. In fact, I know he definitely is not a lock.
Well, if he doesn't have 150 touches, not his fault.
He's somebody who I'm like hoping can get more work as the season goes on, and I think is really powerful and has great contact balance and can kind of like make it work in all three phases. And you're like, okay, you know, he wouldn't have gone so late if it was me ranking the running backs. I know he kind of had a weird career at Washington, but the talent is super apparent with him. So I don't know. I also don't disagree about your points. Like the Broncos defense on paper it's worse. It might only be a little bit worse, but it's not better than it was last year, certainly. And acting like that's nothing is probably wrong.
And if Cooper misses time, that's really
Cooper misses time. That's a lot off the defensive line.
And it's wait and see with that. Yeah, I think the way I felt about the Broncos last year is like eventually this is, and I think a lot of people here in Denver felt like just waiting for it to end. Like, holy cow, we are just squeaking by. We're squeaking by. Like, you're just kind of like, how long is this going to last? How long? And when are we going to get not put out of our misery, but like they were the 1 seed going into the playoffs. And it was like one of these days the dam is going to break and we're going to get beat, and we're going to get like kind of beat bad. I think was like, at least my thought with the Broncos is like, man, they are squeaking by to all these wins. They're about to play, you know, somebody and lose. And then they go to the playoffs, and albeit it's a playoffs that is missing Lamar and Mahomes and Burrow and like some of these big fish. But they play the Bills and it's back and forth and they get 5 turnovers, but they win. and then they play the Patriots and they lose that. But there's always, of course, there's this huge what if, and now it very quickly flipped from like, we are way overperforming, we are like squeaking by the Jets, we are squeaking by the Raiders, we are squeaking by the Giants. Like, how good are we? To like, all of a sudden, we've won some quality games and should have gone to the Super Bowl and would have given up a better fight. Like, we're actually the de facto AFC champion. Like, it was this weird, like, last minute jump in quality for like the entire season for the Broncos, when it felt like the entire year everybody was like frustrated with Sean Payton and Bo Nix's lack of kind of development and like just some of the ugly offensive performances. And then all of a sudden now it's like this team is tier 1 by themselves in the division, according to Blaiden. And like,
although, you know, I
everything's peaches and cream from now on.
If I wanted to give the hot take, it would be that Herbert and McDaniels is the best coach quarterback duo in the sport, and they win the Super Bowl. That would be like the really crazy hot take to give.
Well, you don't think that though. Do you have the Broncos as the best team in the AFC?
I don't know. That's tough. I'm still trying to figure that out because I'm going to post my full season predictions tomorrow. But like, it might be the Patriots that I give the 1 seed to. We'll see. I do think the Patriots might be a little bit better just because I think they're kind of in a similar vein where I really like their defense. I think their secondary is sick, and also I think their quarterback is way better, and I like the additions they made on offense as well. So it's like, maybe I'll give them the 1 seed, but like, I think Denver's right there. They're probably the 2 or the 3 seed with 11 or 12 wins.
Matt, I know you've agonized over this now that we've gone through Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I go Chiefs,
Broncos, Chargers.
Oh, I'm talking whole AFC.
Oh, whole AFC.
Now that we've blown through all the divisions, I know you've agonized over making this call.
Well, in the NFC, I have the Rams. So I got one or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if not the Rams, the Seahawks. How about this?
If not the Rams and the Seahawks, or the Eagles, or the Eagles.
The Eagles.
We'll leave space for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Good Lord, dude! I still have.
Still have no idea.
You could pick the Browns, dude.
In the AFC.
My top tier in the AFC is the Chiefs and the Ravens. I got Chiefs. I'll go Chiefs 1 seed, Ravens 2.
Ravens are interesting. Or at least that's
the AFC Championship game.
The Minter edition is really good, and so you think the defense will be really nice. Lamar
Matabike coming back is a big deal for me.
Matabike coming back is huge. If you're getting like peak performance of Lamar and Derrick Henry, yeah.
Yes.
I'll go with Ravens as my 1 seed. Ultimately, I've done too much talking about how Minter is a big deal for the Chargers. I think they made too many moves that I like in the pass rush, and it kind of feels like to me, if you believe in the Ravens defense to even be like 10th best, and you're not picking the Ravens to be like the 1 or the 2 seed, you either better be really high on somebody else, or you basically are betting against Lamar. Basically, it's what you're doing, because if Lamar is 100%, they're going to have a great offense. That's just how it is. As much as any other player in the NFL, he can create an offense out of thin air, and it's not like he's done it with similar or worse receiver rooms before. Maybe Henry has a tougher time, but I don't even know if that is going to be enough to stop an 100% Lamar. Yeah, I'll go Ravens. It's tough though.
It's very tough.
I would go Patriots 1, Ravens 2, Broncos 3 is probably the way that I would go with it. But
Patriots
I could
1,
see
Broncos
the Ravens.
2.
No, Ravens 2. Ravens 2. Ravens 2. Broncos.
You think about all the top quarterbacks in the AFC, right? Chargers, they have Herbert and Mahomes and the Chiefs and Allen on the Bills. Which defense would you take of all those dudes? Ravens, and
I would easily take the Ravens defense because of stars at every level. I mean, Roquan at that linebacker level, Kyle Hamilton at the back end, Matabike and Trey Hendrickson on the front. I just feel like there's a lot of ways you can mix it up and bring pressure for Minter. And I don't know if I don't think the Bills have that level of star power. I don't think the Chiefs do on the front, but not on the back end. So
right.
I also
Chargers, same deal. I think
the other team that I might think of here, it's kind of sneaky. Again, thinking of the great quarterbacks, I like the Ravens as a pick because I think their defense is definitely the best. And the Bengals, I think, are a very valid pick too because their schedule is by far the easiest in the AFC.
Interesting.
Like by a pretty considerable margin.
But how much will that matter come like playoff time? I guess if they have the 1 seed.
I thought we were talking picking 1 seed. Picking 1 seed, it matters a whole heck of a lot, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And if they're the 1 seed, they're
come playoff time, yeah, I think the defense will be better, but it's probably not going to be awesome. You know, it's probably not going to be playoff like difference making. And there's paths to it being pretty good. There is, but
how will they shut down Gadsden?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go Ravens. That's what I've been feeling all offseason. I've talked myself in and out of everything. I'll go Baltimore as my 1 seed.
I like it. Lamar rocks.
I think I'm going Rams. I'll just say Rams Chiefs Super Bowl.
I like it.
Just put it there.
That'd be good.
Right.
Mahomes versus the super team.
I mean, it would be bad in the sense that it's like the same damn teams, and you know how I feel about that. But I just don't think that we're gonna get like Bills Cowboys or something like that, where it's like this is odd.
Clip that chat. Clip that. Clip that.
I'm
putting all the money in my bank account.
Okay,
now.
well, you know, I feel more strongly about this than you guys, where I want to see, you know, the non-regular teams. I want to see teams that haven't won the Super Bowl in this.
How would you script it? Yeah, what's your dream Super Bowl?
Dream Super Bowl is probably Bills Cowboys. I mean, it depends on how in the realm of possibility we're talking here, right?
Yeah,
like we're talking like any team that is any of like the top 20 or so teams are valid choices, or is it more like any of the top like maybe 4 NFC teams, buddy?
Pick any team.
Yeah, I think you can pick anyone.
Okay, if
maybe not like the bottom. Maybe not like the bottom.
You can pick any team, but it can't be like pick the very bottom team because it would be so crazy if the Jets made it. It's like right, but it's because they're not going to make it. What would make the Cowboys? What would make the Cowboys cool is that, you know, they haven't been there in forever and they have this huge fan base and they've never won anything as long as I've been alive, essentially. And I would love to see Dak in there. He's one of the quarterbacks who I think is really good but doesn't get any respect because of the lack of playoff success. And then the Bills with Allen are the same way. I would say Lamar is kind of similar, so the Ravens would be cool, but the Ravens have won more recently, so they're kind of out. The Bengals with Burrow would be pretty good too. Obviously, they haven't won, and he's somebody who has to get a ring, but I don't view him quite in the same level as those other two guys. And also, I think he gets a little bit more playoff victory success because of the Super Bowl appearance. So those are the teams that really, really strike me, though. I'd love to see one of the non-Mahomes star quarterbacks.
No other team.
Chargers would be great too. No, not of the AFC. I'm not picking the Browns and the Panthers and the Packers, of course, because the Panthers win every game by 60. Okay, well, right.
Blaiden, what's your dream Super Bowl?
No Browns.
Yeah, I was about to ask, am I allowed to pick the Browns? The answer is no. Dreams.
You can, but they're not beating anybody that you pick out of the NFC. So.
They can. I can pick the Browns, but they lose. Oh, that's it. That's actually a valid.
Would you?
That's a valid contingency.
That is a good question. If you could make it happen, wave a magic wand, the Browns will make the Super Bowl, but they will lose, and we will wipe your memory right now so you don't know that's what's going to happen. Would you take that? There is no guarantee that they build anything off of it.
Yeah, next year the spell's gone.
Yeah.
I think yes, just to feel something.
I think so too. I think that's actually an obvious call because would I rather them win 12 games or 4 games next year?
The number of teams that have never been to the Super Bowl is so few that like at least getting out of that bucket would feel like somewhat of a win.
Okay. It would really crush you next year when you learn that it is just a curse all along and they go back to like 3 wins.
When this smells, and Jeremiah Smith is like the best ever, and Arch Manning's like really good, and you're like, right. Where?
Fark. But what is your dream Super Bowl matchup? I'm just pulling.
Dream Super Bowl matchup. That is a good question. Cowboys is not a bad shout, but I don't know if I would pick. I might pick Detroit or Chicago out of the NFC, and then out of the AFC, Houston. Man, he just tapped in for Chicago. Yeah, I might pick like Houston. I think that would be cool. Houston, Chicago would be fun.
Ooh, that would be a really good pick. I can get down with that. Chicago would be exciting. What was the other NFC team that you said? The Lions would be Detroit. Good too. I just feel like Dak is more one run away from everything being different. I guess that's true for Goff or for
Caleb
Williams, obviously. But Caleb's got so much time, and I think is in a pretty good position overall that I don't really feel it with him yet, if you know what I'm saying. And Goff kind of gets a lot of respect, to be honest with you. Right? Am I crazy? Maybe that's totally
you're not. No, you're not crazy at all. Goff gets a lot of respect.
He kind of does get a lot of respect. He's had a very interesting career arc. Well, I don't know. Like he is what he is. He's a good player, though.
He is what he is. Yes, but sometimes people think he's more than he is. Theo, do you have anything from our good friend over at Dabble here?
Yes, of course I do. Today's episode is sponsored by Dabble. I was on their chat room feature because you can chat with fans of every single sports league, like across America, across most of the world. But I got to tell you, I don't know if I love their chat room sometimes. And I was just scrolling through and I found this message that somebody sent in there that from Mr. Pina that said, preseason is crazy. All of a sudden, people are getting hurt. And we ain't even started the season yet. These guys are softer than marshmallows. Man, back in the day, players used to get hurt and come right back, no problemos. Good thing is I didn't pick any of those players that got hurt. Do you think he's cooking that players used to come back?
Back in the day, bro, we used to just stick a needle in the leg and get right back at it.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything that could possibly happen in the modern NFL that people wouldn't look at and say, well, we used to do blank better? I mean, did we talk about this the last episode about the whole like 5,000 yard passer thing? And because the meta has shifted to more run heavy stuff, that all of a sudden it's like, wow, we used to really have demons at quarterback and now nobody can pass anymore. We don't have anybody who can hit 5K yards. But back when dudes were hitting 5K yards, and it was like not that rare for that time towards the end of the 2010s and the start of the 2020s, people were like, we forgot how to run. We don't know how to run anymore like we used to back in the day. All the old players were better. It's like
people used to say we used to have demons at running back.
Right, where are all the demon running backs? And then we have the demon running backs where all these quarterbacks are not throwing for 5,000 yards on like 490 attempts or something like that. And it's like, well,
right, exactly.
It ain't easy. So that's, I kind of feel like that's just said all the time, no matter what.
Yes. But yeah, that's one of the reasons that we've been enjoying Dabble, is that it feels like more than just another DFS app. You can follow your friends and creators. You can see what everyone's playing and interact with people before kickoff, as suspect as their opinions may be. We'll be posting our favorite future picks before the season starts, along with all of our weekly entries throughout the year. Today, if you follow the Stay Hot Pod, you could see the AFC West future that I made, where I picked over Travis Kelce, 674.5 receiving yards, Cortland Sutton under 714.5, and Oronde Gadsden over 499.5. So we'll be posting that throughout the year. Follow Stay Hot Pod profile in the app. Copy our plays if you like them. Leave comments, and let's play every Sunday together. So download Dabble today. Use code Stay Hot, and when you play your first $5, you'll get $10 in bonus cash. But there's one more thing that we would like to do today. A little draft of the best college football brands in the country.
This is a Matthew Sponhour idea, and it's a classic one.
By brand, we mean specifically the look, not the performance.
Yeah, it's like
not how good they are. And it kind of should be disconnected from like the money aspect of like the bigger, like, you know what I'm saying? That's how I thought it. Like which teams just have the best looks, and you can throw in like the logo and the jerseys and all that type of stuff.
Who speaks to you? Just teams that speak to you, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who should get the first pick? I know exactly who. I think it's an easy number 1 overall pick, but I don't want to necessarily.
You take it. I'll be friendly.
I think it's Ohio State. I think Ohio State is easily the best brand in college football. The thing that sticks out is, like, first of all, their uniforms and their color schemes are sick. They have a cool, simple logo that's timeless. And I was thinking, like, Alabama's another team that came to mind for me, and maybe you say, well, that's, you're picking like 2 big brands, but like Alabama, I do feel like has some good aura and another timeless logo, and some decent uniforms, although it is just kind of this like straight crimson at you. But I feel like a lot of Alabama's aura came from Nick Saban more than it did from the Alabama program as a whole. Ohio State's aura has been able to survive generations to the point where you don't think of Ohio State as like an Urban Meyer team. When I think of Alabama, I only think of Saban. I really do. And so I think Ohio State to me is by far, in a way, the best brand in college football.
I mean, I'm insanely biased, but I agree.
This is why I wanted the first pick, because I'm like, if I don't get it, Matt is going to take Ohio State.
It's pretty hard not to be biased about this, but like, yeah, I think Ohio State's look is like up there with the very, very best. Their logo is sweet. They have awesome traditions. The stickers on the helmets are dope. They have very dope helmets. Like, they really have a lot going for them. Brutus is classic.
Yes.
A lot of Brutus is a big deal in Columbus, and rightfully so. He is a great mascot. I close my eyes, I can, not the cow heard it, but I close my eyes, I see him punching his head back and forth. I'm like, that's awesome, man.
They've got the band, right? Best damn band in the land.
Yeah, I mean, the band really is great. I
think.
Go ahead.
Do you want the second pick, Matt?
No, you got it.
I think there is a team with a simpler logo, a better color scheme, maybe even a better mascot. I'm going Texas.
That would have been my choice.
Texas,
not number orange, 1, but number 2.
The burnt orange in the Longhorn is, I think, the best sports logo, period. And you can go to Europe or Asia or Africa or Australia or Europe, or I said Europe twice, any continent you want to go to, South America. I'm taking the burnt orange in the Longhorn over whatever kind of branding they got going on up at the North Pole or wherever you want to look.
See, maybe my favorite color is just red. And I just think it looks, because I just think Ohio State has better color scheme than Texas does. The burnt orange is cool and whatever, but like when I see that scarlet and gray, it's different, man. It's just different. I think if I wasn't like born and raised in Central Ohio, I would still be a Buckeye fan, just because I think their colors and their uniforms are that sick.
Do you know the Texas signal? Do you know their hand signal, or like the not the hand signal, but like the horns up? Can you do horns up? Are you aware of that?
I'm not. Well, like I can do it.
Never mind, Matt. You just make your. I'm not even going to say anything.
I'm looking at my board because I just wrote down teams that I think have very good looks. I think there's some teams that have better basketball looks than football looks, and we're talking football. Like the big one, obviously, to me is UNC, which is a very cool basketball school, and they look fine for football. So I'm probably not going to pick them here, but I think they would be reasonable. I think I feel pretty decent. I'll go Notre Dame.
Good.
As one of the best looks. I mean, navy and gold is a really strong combo. I do like the gold helmets. They do have a very cool stadium that I've driven by. So I think
touchdown Jesus.
They're a good combo of just like good solid colors and traditional and all that type of stuff. And I appreciate that a little bit more than like maybe the Oregons of the world, I would say, in football. But I think there's good and bad with Oregon. And then I'm going to make a total biased homer pick. I'm from Columbia. I think the Gamecocks are one of the best looking teams in college football. They really are.
Yes.
They absolutely.
I agree.
There are a lot of teams that are black and red, right? Or some version crimson or scarlet or whatever. The Gamecocks might have the best. Garnet really, really crushes, and their logo is so sick. It's really hard to pull off the detailed logo. They probably have the most detailed logo that really works for me. Stadium's big and rockin'. I think they mostly have pretty good jerseys too. They usually don't get too crazy with it, although I am imagining 2013. When we talked about bad jerseys on the last episode, we didn't bring up camo. We didn't bring up the camo phase that every single professional or college team had to go through.
Yep.
But that's been some time now, so I'm giving them grace. So I mean, I'm super biased, but yeah, I think the Gamecocks have a great look.
I'm probably reaching on a guy with character concerns here, but I'm gonna take Michigan. I am a huge fan of Michigan's helmets. I think that they look sweet, and
I prefer
I'm a big
Delaware's.
Fan. Maybe the horns I think are cool. The yellow really pops. The big house is just an elite venue. I also like Wolverine as a mascot. I think that it's an underutilized animal. How many Wildcats are there? How many Eagles are there or whatever? Like Wolverine is maybe the most ferocious like animal you could pick, and it really encapsulates, I feel like, the football playing mentality especially. But they kind of own that. They're kind of the only Wolverines that I can really think of. So and college football and NFL and MLB, like no one else is the Wolverines. Anyway,
they don't want to be associated.
They don't want to be associated. Correct. No, they would pale in comparison. I'm very afraid. So Michigan, look, I don't want to sign off everything they've done, but I think they have a great look, a great venue, a great team name, and yeah, they also got the sticker helmet thing.
I'll keep it a stack. I would take Michigan State over.
And they got a great rivalry with OSU. Like OSU and Michigan kind of make college football worth paying attention to. So they both kind of are elite, sadly, as much as you guys would.
It is the greatest rivalry in sport.
In sport. I'll go UCLA for my next pick. The Bruins.
Good choice.
I think that gold. I mean, a lot of people's favorite like NFL uniforms are those baby blue Chargers. UCLA runs out with a look like that every week, except their gold looks cooler than that Chargers yellow, I think. They've kind of got a little bit of the Notre Dame going on, but like a brighter version of it. I just think they look sweet. I think the bear is like a cool mascot to go along. I don't have a ton of deep research on UCLA. I don't know a lot about their history, but I just think they look sweet. And if I was picking like a team to play for in like the college football game, like UCLA would be one of my top. That's kind of a way that I frame this also.
And the Rose Bowl.
That's true. Rose Bowl.
Hard to beat the Rose Bowl.
Hard to beat the Rose Bowl.
I think UCLA is a great choice.
And then I'll finish out my list with, I'll go Penn State. The whiteout is just unmatched. I know, like, it's some of my most memorable college football watching experiences are Ohio State, Penn State in a Penn State whiteout game. And those games are just, they have so much aura. They're so cinematic and they're so much fun to like rewatch and make edits of. It's just such the whiteout is a very entertaining and exciting atmosphere. And even though their uniforms are very simple and sort of plain, I think it works with the like white navy. Yeah.
I think they lean a little bit too simple, a little bit too traditional. Sure. I don't love the logo, but I agree the whiteouts are great, and overall it's a very, very solid looking team.
There's two Florida teams that are hard to pick between, which is Florida and the U. It's really a tough call for me, but I'm going Florida. I love the Gator. It's another one of my just favorite logos. It's kind of cartoonish, but in the best possible way. The chomp, the swamp. It's just a fun little Florida themed
Isn't the
thing.
Stay Hot logo, isn't Huel Jinkley based on an old Florida Gators logo?
Yeah, I think so, where he's kind of standing all defiantly.
Yep.
I love the blue and the orange. I think it really, like, these bright colors that really pop. A lot of times teams go like, kind of black or tan or kind of white, gray. Like, none of that with Florida. They're like really bold and with a really iconic logo, which I think clears the U's. I think Miami has a cooler like mentality as a program, maybe, or like history as a program, like when they had just the hugest hitters like basically ever, and we're just
But how much of that is the players as opposed to like
it's really tough to separate them. I just want to make it
count the players. I mean, I've got Texas, Michigan, and Florida here, which have all been like completely dynastic at different points in their history. I can't really think of a college football brand without thinking about what they've accomplished. I know, like, we're kind of going look and kit and all those things, but
if we're thinking about how good they've been, Gamecocks is a tough choice, unfortunately.
Maybe it is, but I'm going Texas, Michigan, Florida. I love the Gators. I think they're so fun.
And then Matt, to round it out.
And well, I mean, the picks that I had lined up were like, I'm like, Stanford's a good looking school. They're a sharp looking school. But like, if we're thinking
I love the
good
tree.
They've been. The tree is so bad it's good, the mascot, but the logo is elite.
It is.
I think Miami is a great choice. UC, I love as a basketball school, but I think their football look is only okay. But Nippert, I think, is like the best. So it's kind of a balance.
You went there.
And I went there. Man, this is really, really tough. I might go Miami.
You should.
Yeah, I think I'll go Miami.
I wish their logo was a little different, honestly. But the hand.
I think some of the logos can get a little thin. I think that's the issue. It's the same issue with Oregon's logo, and honestly, the same issue with UC's logo. They're too thin. They need to be thicker. Michigan, Ohio State.
Figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, like Ohio State and Michigan have these big block logos. I think those look better than like the really thin. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, even UCLA, like they have the like script of the UCLA there, which isn't super thin either. I feel like they do a good job with it. So
I like ASU too. I really do. I know I went
ASU does
ASU is fun. The Sun Devil is cool.
The Red
Sparky
Hawks,
is cool. The Red Hawks are not
really like pretty low tier, honestly.
Red Hawks aura is
one of the least inspired looking.
It's one of our high schoolist colleges.
Yeah, like I mean, I think about the other schools in Ohio, like OU, Classic, Green, Ohio State, Cincinnati. We're talking looks. I mean, like I'll take the Dayton logo. Toledo is. You got this.
That's at least interesting. Over
okay, Bowling Green. Bowling Green's at least orange. You guys are just regular red with no type of motion. Respectfully.
Nah, you don't mean
that. Yeah,
I don't.
I'm not feeling the aura at all.
Shout out.
I don't hate their bird though.
It's fine.
Shout out Boise State. That's a good shout.
I thought about
Field.
them. I thought about
it
them.
It's iconic. It is. But that'll do it for another episode of Stay Hot. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We've got a few more episodes before the season starts, so make sure you strap on in. It's going to be a ton of fun. Thank you all so much, and we will catch you on the flippity flop.